Good evening and welcome to the first round of the House of Esports F1 2023 Championship. This is Season 3 and we will be racing around the Jeddah Corniche circuit this evening. It is round 1, so this is the first round, 4 points, and the guys are ready to go and raring to get some points for the start of the season. With me in the commentary box this evening is once again Trilogy. Welcome to the box, Trill. How are you doing?
Hey, yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Looking like it's going to be quite an interesting night once again. We got quite a filling grid tonight. Most of the T1 guys have managed to pull through, so I'm looking forward to quite an interesting race.
Absolutely should be an interesting one. We saw the guys' pace on the previous race, and I'm sure we're going to see more from them through this one. And yeah, how's it, Papa Smurf? I see you in the chat. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And yeah, should be a good race once again as the guys head out. Fish first on the field and first to get going on his flying lap.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of drivers a little bit different compared to the preseason testing. We had quite a huge gap with the amount of drivers coming out. But as you can see here, as the first round of Season 3 HOE, we have a lot of drivers who have decided to come out early. Obviously, just to get the maximum feel of all the track evolution. And that someone absolutely clubs the barriers. It looks like Fish may have just run a little bit wide going through the start of the S's in Sector 2. Yeah, that lap of his is unfortunately over. He clears the way for his teammate here, unfortunately rails onto the curb. Yeah, no, not looking too great for the Williams right now.
No, absolutely. Both Williams already having issues with those curbs, and then Mario having issues as well. So that curb looking like it is particularly vicious tonight. Let's see if Aphrodite nests through. Okay, Aphrodite takes a nice safe lines through there to make sure that he gets through. A little bit clatters over the curb on the other side, but looks like he is still able to keep going with that lap intact.
Yeah, no, you seem to have managed it pretty well, but I would recommend to most of the chat to keep an eye on those turns, specifically 7, 8, and 9. From the preseason testing, we have managed to name that the Curb of Death. It is unfortunately gained quite a reputation for hooking the bottom of the car's drivetrain and just absolutely power steering the car one way. And we're going to see that a lot tonight, especially when people are running very low downforce setups to gain maximum speed on the straights.
Absolutely. They will be running low downforce. They will be running the car low to the ground as well. So those curbs absolutely will pick the tires up off the track. And I mean, if you don't have rubber on the track, there's not going to be any traction. So yeah, I think that's what we're seeing with those guys. Aphrodite coming to the end of his lap, comes across the line with the DRS wide open, goes to the top of the times, 127.329, but the first representative lap, and Zivan immediately beating it.
Yeah, 127.2 and 127.3, not respectively the best laps. We're going to see a couple of faster laps. In preseason testing, we saw a couple of 126s. I think the fastest was about a 126.6. So we should be seeing a couple of fastest laps. And as I said, a 126.5 from Azure. Very similar time to what he said in preseason testing. Only a tenth, actually a tenth up from the time he said in preseason testing. The main thing is to see if his teammate Corsair down in 11th right now, currently finishing his outlap, will be able to perform the same as he did on the preseason testing and possibly match with his teammate again.
Absolutely. Corsair was rapid in preseason testing. Obviously did struggle to keep up with Azure in the final stint, but let's see if he can actually do something here. Obviously on his outlap at the moment, looks like he is getting out of the way for the AlphaTauri coming through and the Alfa Romeo, so a couple of people going through there. We've got a couple of reserves on the grid tonight who are going to have eyeballs on them. This season we are going to be quite harsh on reserves as far as incidents are concerned. We're going to be quite harsh in general as far as incidents are concerned, because we have seen in other leagues, it seems like people seem to have lost the will to actually race cleanly. So we are going to be very strict on the penalties.
Yeah, look, it's all fun and games when you put your elbows out, but you got to be considerate to the other drivers around you. That everyone else is trying to set a faster lap, and you also just need to give some space. So racing is also about the consistency and how well you're able to keep that car controlled. But we're going to be watching Corsair now as he goes on to one of his flying laps. It should be his first right now. We're not going to go on board because that Alpine Renault engine is extremely loud. So we're going to be viewing him through the S's over here, turn 7, 8, and 9, checking if he hooks that curb. Right now it's looking pretty solid and he keeps it quite clean on the inside of that curb. Coming out of the S's, he's going to get a pretty good run and that's going to set him up decently for Sector 3. I mean Sector 2, apologies.
Absolutely. Sorry, just dealing with a little bit of admin. One of the guys doesn't have his telemetry settings exactly right, so we're just trying to resolve that. And then, yeah, we'll get um, back to this quali session right away. Corsair, yeah, looks like he's not doing too badly. Just checking on this telemetry. Good first sector. He's got the fastest first sector of everyone, but slightly slower second sector than Azure, down by about a tenth and a half. So it looks like it's all going to be in this final sector. Will he be able to go quicker? We'll see very shortly.
We've got about 5 tenths in between first and second right now. Scars with the 127 flat, a really decent time so far, but Corsair is going to be running down the main straight. Will he be able to pop in at that second place right behind Azure? And he does with a 126.7, 2 tenths off of his teammate. It's looking a little bit like a replica of preseason testing. But yeah, so far an amazing lap from Corsair. Currently, pretty decent top 10 so far. Top 10 separated by about 2 seconds. Currently on board with Fish, the recent driver we just saw bin it into the wall and lose the wing. Obviously, still getting used to the track and stuff. We can see he is one of the reserve drivers, so he is going to be, getting used to the track again. He obviously hasn't put in as the same amount of practice as some of these top drivers have, but we are still hoping to see a couple of good laps out of him. So currently on his out lap, we will be watching him as he goes onto his flyer.
Absolutely, and we'll see how loud it is on the onboard. I have adjusted the volume a little bit, so hopefully it does allow us to listen to the onboards without being completely deafened. But we'll find out very shortly, so we'll go on board with him as he crosses the line.
Marsh is currently sitting on an outlap 7 seconds behind Azure. Obviously, he didn't have a good run up, and we actually see Fish pulling in. Maybe he didn't put enough fuel in or something, but he's clearly not happy. But yeah, back onto the topic of Marsh. On an outlap now, he obviously hasn't had a great couple of first minutes to the session as we see him very far off of his standard pace. Marsh is actually one of the higher up drivers, usually battling with the likes of Humid, Corsair, and Azure. So we're hoping to see a little bit of good pace coming out of him. He's still on the outlap right now, but he is in the final sector. We will be on board with him as he comes onto the final straight. We're just hoping that he does not pit again. Doesn't pit like Fish did, but I don't think he will be. I think he's going to be. He's going to want to try and consolidate that time and get rid of that 7 second gap. So here we go on board with Marsh, coming down into the first sector. Watch that front left tire for any locking. Oh, and it's a big lock. But he seems to have managed it well. Running out wide on the curb over there, he seems to manage it well as well. It's crucial going into the next sector here not to bin it into the wall on the left. He manages it well, keeps the pace up, keeps it tight on the left, keeps it tight on the right, holding it close, keeps it in 6. And it's looking pretty solid through the S's. He's going to carry the speed straight into sector 2.
Absolutely manages to avoid those curves of death. You can see he rode up onto the one on the left quite high, but not over that apex, which is really the important part. He gets right up to the wall there. This is looking like a pretty strong lap, and just checking on the telemetry Marsh. He's got a personal best first sector. He's made 4 seconds up in the first sector alone.
Yeah, so that's looking pretty good. It's obviously his first lap time that he said was not too solid. He obviously made some sort of mistake or he was held up by someone else. But so far it's looking pretty decent. He runs a tiny bit wide and clips that right curb. It's not ideal, but we're going to see most of the drivers here that hug the left side of here going into the final sector to minimize the track kilometer distance. And we're going to be watching him as he comes around the final turn now. He wants to carry as much speed as he can. Going on down here, onto third, onto fourth, he's going to be carrying the speed through. Where do you think he's going to finish? I think it might be a top 5 for Marsh. He comes across the line, and it's 6. He misses out from P5 from just 1/10.
Absolutely incredibly close there by Marsh, and you can see the guys up at the top, in fact all the way down to Marsh in 6th place, all within a second of Azir's time, and that's really good to see, because I mean they might be a little bit slower in the quali trim, but once they get into race trim, that might actually make the difference. Humid on a lap, we're still waiting to see a representative lap time for him. That may have been a little bit of a compromised line through there, but looks like he is on a fairly decent lap so far. Nothing really lighting the timing screens up, but definitely a decent lap so far.
Humid's always known as the man of surprises. He's always trying to pull out the secret tire strategies to try and gain an advantage in the race. Will he be able to pull it off for Easel? As you said, his line was a little bit compromised from that back marker Fish over there. He will probably get top 10. He gets 4th, actually, so that line wasn't actually too compromised. 4 tenths off of Azure, and he's actually going to be right behind Corsair. 2 tenths behind Corsair. It's actually a very good lap. So currently, the only driver on the grid to not set a time will be Fish. As we see Humidifier doing some little practice donuts over there, to practice for the end of the race. We'll cover that up as donuts for him. And yeah, so we're on board now with Fish. Oh, and he taps the wall again. So Fish, there might have been desync. I'm not too sure, but there is some clear sense that he is struggling. Obviously, the reserve driver has not gotten a lot of time into the sim, and it's not going to help him too much. He might actually stay down 16th because everyone ahead has set a lap time. If he does not manage to set a lap time, this is where he will end up, and he loses the back end again going through that turn, and as you can see, grazes the wall on the left of him. And through this section he goes, no traction loss whatsoever. It's looking good so far, except for those couple of spins and loose ends. But yeah, it all just depends on how he can continue and take sector 3.
Absolutely. His first sector already 2 seconds down, though, on the rest of the guys. Second sector looking good. So not he did manage to carry some speed through that second sector. We'll see what he can do through this third one. He is carrying some wing damage, 11% wing damage on his front right, and he's burning through a lot more ERS than I've seen on the other guys. So it does seem to be pushing incredibly hard. Not a great exit out of that final corner. Did get a snap of oversteer, which pushed him towards the middle of the field. And let's see as he crosses the line. Yeah, 5 seconds back. So definitely not comfortable in that Williams at the moment.
No, it's definitely not. And I mean, unfortunately, you can't blame it on the car in this league, as everything is set to equal. We see him again struggling going through turn 1 and 2. But yeah, some drivers are just. Saudi is a immense track about practice and consistency, nailing and making sure that you can take each of these turns as close as possible. And the purest thing, and I know it's a harsh thing to say, but it is just unfortunately a little bit of lack of practice. And yeah, a little bit more would have possibly helped him, especially with keeping his consistency up. But yeah, with a couple of minutes left, we are going to see a couple of drivers who would like to increase their times, especially Corsair, who's actually gone into the pit. He might come out again to try and solidify a second place or even a first place above his teammate. But on board now with Marsh on his outlap.
Absolutely, and I'm sure we're going to see more from Marsh. As you said earlier, he is one of the quick guys in the league. We can see Mario and Aphrodox have gotten up there into second and third, so the Alpine's not quite dominating like we saw the other night with the preseason, and yeah, it's good to see.
Yeah, it is definitely good to see. We love quite a diverse track in preseason testing. It was a very dominant field from the two Alpine boys, but obviously everything comes down to the actual night itself. Qualifying is one thing, but how you can perform in the race is the main question, because most of the crucial things is like the things such as start and pit strategies and all of the small things that can actually lead you to win or lose a race. But regardless of that, Marsh will be coming onto his flying lap now. We will be with him, whether that's on board or on the TV cam, but he's going to be starting his lap now.
Alrighty, so let's see. He goes down towards turn number 1, gets himself nicely to the outside, not taking as much track there as he might have wanted to, and already gets an invalidation. So Marsh struggling a little bit to get a proper time on the board. 2 minutes 46 seconds to go until the end of the session. And looking at the lap times of the guys now, 126, but it will probably take about 2 minutes to get out without chewing up the tires. So we'll probably see a flurry of activity now of people trying to get around and get ready for a new lap as Wormpuzzle starts his. So he's going to get a lot of traffic coming through here.
No, definitely. One thing that we didn't see actually is Azure has set a fastest time of 126.1. So far, the fastest time of HOE Season 3 Saudi Arabia. Oh, and Wormpuzzle has been, Wormpuzzle is, no, that's unfortunately, I mean, I see people have tried to clear up for him, but that is a little bit unfortunate. He's going to lose about 4 to 5 tenths just through that section alone. Unfortunately, Jeddah is a super tight circuit, and sometimes those things happen.
Yeah, 6 tenths he's lost in that first sector. So, unfortunately, running out of sync, you always have to worry about traffic. And we saw it there. Nowhere that they could have gone. Obviously, running through the S's, there's no way you can really get out of the way. And unfortunately, Worm Puzzle getting affected by that. He will. It looks like he does have enough fuel to go for another one. Is recharging his ERS at the moment. Is back up to 86% already. So I'm sure we'll see him run another lap, and we'll see him go for that lap that was just aborted.
All right, cool. And 13 drivers currently out on their outlap, including the race leader Azure. Seems like everyone is going to be trying to improve, especially with the evolutionized track. In specific, Corsair, Humidifier, and Zivan are going to be trying to increase their times. That top three is looking extremely tight. And yeah, we're going to have a couple of pokers who are going to try and put their nose into there. But it's going to all come down to the actual qualifying session itself. Marsh, still on the same outlap. I don't think he's actually pitted. I don't know how his tires are actually going to be. As we saw last lap, he did invalidate on the first two turns. But yeah, I mean, I'm wishing luck for March to maybe just push and try and get at least top 5. We know he has the pace. But on board with Worm Puzzle again, it seems like he's going on another lap.
Yeah, he
He
is
may have.
definitely on a lap. So he did clatter across the first couple of curbs, which is unfortunate. Would have slowed him down in that first sector a little bit, but it's much better looking than his previous one. Only 200ths off his fastest time through the first sector. We'll see how he does through sector 2. Keep an eye on the top right there. That lap info, when he comes to the end of sector 2, it will give us a delta to his fastest time.
Yeah, no, so far it's looking pretty good. As you say, only 200 tenths off of his previous best. But we're going to be on board with him now, or actually on the TV cam. He's going to be running straight through, and we see at the first retirement of the session, Fish and Corsairs unfortunately left the session. That might be due to a technical error. But on board with Worm Puzzle, this is definitely going to put him up on the grid, away from that 14th, and possibly into the top 10th. Coming around onto the final corner now, can he take this? Well, he goes wide, he goes in. It looks like it was well executed, and he's coming onto the back straight now. He's about to cross the line, and I think we might be able to see a top 10 over here from him. Cuts it close in the white line. Oh, and it's actually 12th. He's just missed out from top 10 within a 10th, which is so unfortunate.
Absolutely. Aphrodite next across the line does not improve. And then Oliver Gainsler coming across now does not improve from 13th. So that he's going to be quite disappointed with that. We see Scars coming across in the Mercedes, unfortunately not doing much better. Azure coming through now goes a little bit quicker. That was 3 thousandths of a second quicker than his previous time, if I'm not very much mistaken. We have Martin de Bruin coming across now. Let's see what he can do. Does not go quicker than his previous time. We had Venom go through there, and he gets up to 9th position. Helis comes across, not quite getting a position. Humid is going very slowly. Marsh coming through the final corner. So Marsh will be the final one that's actually on a lap at the moment. I think Humid, again, Marsh comes in. He is happy with his 6th place. Humid drifting into the pits there. And I do believe Humid has run out of fuel. So
Yeah, definitely. Guys, at this point, it's just boasting. Going out to set a 3 thousandths of a lap quicker just to show your immense consistency and pace. But overall, it's been a great qualifying session again for Azure. 126.1. Like I said before, the fastest time for HOE Season 3, Jeddah so far. Yeah, as we say, T1 is crazy close, especially... Oh, and Humidifier has decided to rather... didn't actually get what he wanted. I think he wanted to DNF, but the car said no. But
yeah,
like
absolutely.
yeah, like we're saying, immense speed between everyone actually between Q1. Besides, obviously, a couple of the reserves, but yeah, it's going to be a tight race. What do you think, Skate?
Absolutely, I do believe it is going to be a very tight race. A couple people getting kicked from the lobby, Corsair being one of them, and then Zivan looks like he's been kicked out of the lobby as well. So let's see if I can re-invite them very shortly. Just need to get a quick shot of this. So yeah, pretty good session so far. We did see that one section where I think it was Worm Puzzle who got very heavily impeded, but again, I don't think there was anywhere any of them could have gone to get out of the way. Just a really unfortunate issue there.
Yeah, Jeddah is like basically the complete opposite of tracks like France, where there's major open space for a car to take leeway. But fortunately, Jeddah is concrete walls straight next to the raceway. There is no real spaces to go off unless it's wide on the S's themselves. But unfortunately, he got caught up at the start of the S's, and there's literally nowhere to go. So as much as we'd like to blame those people in front, they literally couldn't do anything. But thankfully, Wormpuzzle did get to go again. He did manage to set the lap that he probably wanted to, maybe wanted to do a little bit better. Starting 12th, going on to the race, it's not the worst position, but it's also not the best. But yeah, it's going to be quite an interesting race.
Absolutely. That first corner, especially with so many people all wanting to try and get ahead as soon as possible. This race quite difficult to pass in the first couple of laps, and it's very easy to stretch your legs and get out in front on the first couple of laps. So I'm sure people are going to be quite aggressive into turn one. Hopefully not too aggressive, because as I said earlier, we are going to be very harsh with the stewarding. So yeah, people need to be careful.
Yeah, no, and obviously Jeddah is one of those tracks where the leader will actually start on the outside of the racing line, and second will actually have the preferred line. So the person in second, if they can actually get a good start off of the race start themselves, they could possibly challenge Zero into turn one. Obviously, it will be a continuous battle from then on, but like we say, it's going to be an intense turn one. We're hoping it's not going to be collision worthy, but a couple of bumper cars is always exciting.
It is exciting for us, not so much for the drivers. Obviously, they would prefer not to be bumped around. But yeah, one of those things. Zivan, I will send an invite to as soon as the lights go out. There they are. There is Zivan's car making its way through, because the lobby slightly desynced, and now heading down to turn one. Azure still out in front. Aphrodox in second. Mario gets a position as they go through turn one. Looks quite no, that's not what I'm looking for. It looks quite clean through there. A little bit of a touch there by Fish, and a little bit of loss of control, but it looks like everyone's gone through pretty well.
Yeah, pretty balanced T1. Oh, and as we say, looks like a Mercedes worm puzzle has just been tapped out. Venom has also lost out majorly. So is Oliver Gainsler. It's not looking too good for them. But so far, not the most rowdiest of starts we've seen between 3 seasons of HOE. But Zhou manages to keep the lead from Mario. I don't think he was actually wanting to contest that inside line. It was looking a little bit risky, especially because Zhou got quite a decent start. But as we see now, it is still extremely close between the top 10. Aphrodox is right on the gearbox of Mario. And who's spun there? And it's Fish, unfortunately. Thankfully, we have got the ghost feature on, so he's moved out the way for the other drivers to continue.
Absolutely, and we see Corsair already right onto the back of Aphrodox, having to hold on for a sec just to be a little bit patient. Will be get a slipstream down the straight. I'm gonna quickly try and invite Sivan, so we will be back with live pictures very shortly as we see Humid making his way past Marsh in the background there. I think that move is going to stick. So as soon as we get into turn one, we'll quickly invite Sivan and see how he does. I thought maybe it would quieten down during that time, but not quite. Mario and Corsair fighting it out. Oh, and that is a
Oh,
massive crash in the
massive
background there.
crash.
And that is really unfortunate. That's a lot of people. And I think that would have been a racing incident, to be honest.
Yeah, it seems like Aphrodox may have clipped on the inside of Corsair, but like you said, racing incident, these boys are racing insanely hard right now for position. We saw even before they crossed the finish line, Corsair was right on the back of Aphrodox. So, yeah, unfortunately, Aphrodox being awarded the 5 second time penalty by the in-game stewards, obviously from the contact with Corsair, but that is going to ruin Corsair's race down to ninth. He might have some sort of wing damage from that, as we did see him collide with the wall. And there were, I think, 2 other drivers involved. But yeah, Aphrodox, besides the penalty, comes out clean. Not too many scars around the car. But yeah, unfortunate incident. Like we said, Jeddah is extremely tight and you need to be consistent. Safety cars being
Absolutely.
deployed. We're going to see what that's going to cause.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what happened there may have been Mario and Corsair fighting it out through those corners. Did look like Corsair may have had a little bit of a tap with Mario as Mario went over one of the curbs, and that just concertinaed him into Aphrodite. Aphrodite getting that penalty a little bit unfairly. I don't think he had anywhere really to go, and then just a pile up behind. So that really has shaken things up. Aphrodite's car, luckily, is all right. So he will be in fifth. He will be able to fight from that position. Corsair and Humid, unfortunately, not quite as lucky. Corsair, 100% damage, both wings completely gone, and Humid, 25% damage for his front left wing.
So we're going to see a couple of drivers coming in for the pits now. As you said, Corsair and Humid coming in with major damage to the front of their cars. Thankfully for them, the safety car did get deployed. So seems like that weird bug that we had in preseason testing with the no safety cars has been officially now restored. And we're seeing now the actual front wing being replaced with Humid. A little bit weird, some voodoo magic from the pit crew, but anyways,
Yeah,
they get the
absolutely.
job done. And yeah, there we go. We've got Azure now lined up behind the safety car. Should be out for the next 2 laps.
Yeah, normally is out for at least 2 laps, depending on how quickly people catch up, possibly 3 if people don't catch up quickly enough. And Fish is quite far behind. He's still finishing the previous lap, gets across there now, so he might catch up before the end of this lap, so we might have a 2-lap safety car, which would be nice. It's always good to have more racing and less safety car.
No, 100%. You always want to see more action instead of safety car. Obviously, for the drivers, it's a little bit better for them in terms of consistency-wise. They get to use the tires a lot less. But one thing they will have to do is they will have to manage their fuel burning efficiency. Otherwise, they're going to just start storing a bunch of fuel that they actually don't need, and it's just going to cause unnecessary loss of speed. Zivan, again, unfortunately, seems to be losing constant connection tonight from the lobby. We are hoping to get him back in here, but there we see right now the positions chart. Corsair down 9 positions from that incident. I think Venom lost those positions on race start, down to 12th, started in 9th, and Humidifier down 7 positions, Oliver Gainsler down 2 positions, and yeah, Afrodox down 2 positions as well. Not too much of a hectic thing for him as there was no damage for him.
Absolutely. So, interestingly enough, we had Zivan and Martin drop connection at the same time. So, it definitely seems like the servers are a little unstable tonight. I'll keep an eye and see if people do ask for re-invites. I know Zivan was feeling a little bit concerned about how often he was getting kicked, but Martin, this is the first time he's been kicked. So, we'll see whether he requests an invite again or whether he has maybe had some sort of load shedding issue or something like that.
Yeah, unfortunately with EA, you can never just be a happy little soldier. There'll always be something to complain about, and we're seeing it crossover from many of the games before with the constant server issues. But thankfully for us, we have started to adapt to it a little bit and manage it a little bit, especially with us South Africans and the constant load shedding that most of us have. It has caused a lot of people to not be able to race, and yeah, no, it's a terrible thing for some of us.
Absolutely, and unfortunately, I've just sent an invite to a random because EA.
I believe you sent an invite to my brother.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
um, so yeah, no. Unfortunately, EA deciding to pull a rug pull, pull a little bit of a rug pull there. As I tried to find Zivan, went to Zivan's name, hit enter, and by the time I'd hit enter, it was already on Ethan. So yeah, sorry, Ethan. Zivan is showing offline at the moment. Hopefully, he manages to restart his connection. Martin Brain has managed to rejoin. Hopefully, this doesn't break the safety car. I guess we're going to be testing some stability tonight.
It's all about that, hey, making sure that things can run under certain scenarios. So let's see, it might break the safety car, but one thing I'm still super intrigued about seeing, obviously we haven't seen it yet in any league races. I don't think that there's been an incident hectic enough, but I don't know about G-Skix. I know it's a bad thing to say, but I really want to see a red flag.
It would be interesting to see a red flag. I imagine it would take a car being completely stopped on the track or completely destroyed. So we haven't had that yet, and hopefully we don't get that. But at the same time, it would be interesting to see it. Safety car in this lap, so that's a good sign. It looks like the safety car has not broken despite having to re-invite a couple of people. Safety car will now create a gap to the guys, and Azure becomes the de facto safety car.
He will be leading this pack in, and we're going to see the little bit defensive technique that most race leaders do. He's going to keep it slow, he's going to keep it steady, and he's going to try and catch the people behind him off guard with a quick launch as soon as the green flag is appeared. So we're going to see a couple of people now trying to burn off those couple of excesses of fuel, getting the tires warm again, and it seems like Azure is going straight, no hesitation whatsoever. He launches the car, and it's actually caught people such as Afrodox off guard coming around that final corner. Going into turn 1, everything seems to be clean. Marsh has actually recovered quite well. Up into 4th, we see now Trey now challenging Martin and Quinton as well. This will fortunately be the battle for 6th. Martin now seems to be 2.7 seconds behind Quinton. Trey will be right behind him though.
Absolutely. I think Martin did not get a good safety car restart. He had reconnected, and I think the game kind of lagged out a couple of times where he ended up in front of Quinton, had to drop back, and then in front of Afrodox, and then had to rapidly drop back. Corsair there in the background trying to fight his way through the cars there, through that hairpin section, and managed to get through nice and quickly, nice and cleanly on Heli's. Good racing by the two of them. But yeah, Martin definitely did not have a good safety car restart, had to drop back a couple of positions, and then Azure went as he was still doing that. So unfortunate there for Martin and everyone behind him, but that has created a little bit of a battle there as Marsh is right on the back of Mario. So we saw Mario have issues with the other Alpha, with the who was it? Alpha? Yeah, it wasn't AlphaTauri of no, it was. Sorry, I will get this right at some point. Corsair. It was Corsair that he had problems
There we
with
go.
earlier. So,
Oh, contact.
ooh, that was indeed contact. Mario getting a terrible exit out of the final corner, and Marsh coming up without anywhere to go, touching the back of him. A little bit of a spin there.
Yeah, that was quite intense. I just saw that. I think Mario tried to get a inside line going onto the final straight, and I believe he may have lost the back end a little bit and just touched the rear. But as we're speaking of this, Afrodox is on the gearbox of Mario now after he did lose that straight line speed. Afrodox is going to be now pushing straight through. He's not going to make any moves on these straights because obviously that's not really advised, especially if that floor of the car does hook onto the curves. But as we're speaking, Marsh seems to have lost connection. And that AI is unfortunately a lot slower than the other drivers, so he's dropped the position to Mario and Afrodox.
Unfortunately, he has indeed, and I've just gotten confirmation that Sivan's internet has dropped. Really unfortunate for him, and he is now languishing in 14th. He was actually the fastest person as far as pure race pace was concerned, I think, in the preseason testing. So really unfortunate that we don't get to see what he is able to do. In the meantime, Humid has actually come into the pits again. He had 45% damage to his front wing, and Heli's also carrying some damage on his front right wing.
It's not looking like there's the same kind of race that Human had in preseason testing. It's not going his way tonight. Again, like you say, down in 16th, and he's gone into the pits again with 45% wing damage. Obviously trying to push to gain with the field again, and he's obviously just mitigated straight into a wall. Could have been a rear end loss of grip, but as we're speaking of this, we've got some action on the start end straight. Corsair goes down the inside of two drivers. Obviously, one of them is ghosted, and that's Marsh down to 8th. Corsair up to 6th has been a great recovery run for him after his incident with Afrodox.
Absolutely, and it looks like things are getting pretty good for Trey as well here. Martin dropped back after that move with Corsair, and Trey was almost right on top of him. And Fish has retired from the session, so I think Fish has pulled into the pit lane and retired there. Obviously just not feeling the car tonight, and unfortunate for him. It was good to have him on the grid, but he's just not finding the pace here in the Tier 1. Helis is still quite far back. He's come into the pits just to get rid of that wing damage, and yeah, we see a couple of battles up and down the field already.
Yeah, like you say, Trey has got a pretty good form, especially on Martin, who didn't have a great run after Corsair made that move on him. Afrodox again on the rear end of Mario, and it's really been a tight battle between these two, and they've been neck and neck with each other. We're actually going to see Afrodox with only 3/10 behind Mario. He's going to get the DRS coming onto the back straight. We're going to see it now as they come around the final turn, right behind him. cross the DRS line and go now, and we're going to see him go up the inside or the outside. I believe it's going to be inside. It's going to be a clean overtake, and I don't think Mario is going to defend that one.
No, absolutely not much Mario could do there, and that's unfortunate for him, but good racing all around. In the meantime, something I'd like to draw your attention to as Trey goes very wide there and opens himself up to an attack by both Martin and Oliver Gainsler. But yeah, something out front that's quite interesting. Scars is keeping up with Azure and definitely keeping him honest out there in front.
That is immensely weird. Is Scars a reserve driver or is a part of T1?
I do believe he is part of T1, if I recall correctly, and unfortunately we just saw Martin having issues through that S section, as we've seen before, and that lets Wormpuzzle through. So Wormpuzzle has made up a couple of positions from the start as well.
That's quite an interesting thing to see. Preseason testing, it seemed like the two Alpine drivers were pretty much untested compared to the rest of the grid. Scars now actually opposing as a threat to Azure, and he doesn't actually have his teammate nearby to help them attack or defend. So we're going to have to keep an eye out on them. Scars is, like you say, managing within an 8 to 6/10 gap of Azure. Azure is going to really be pushing now to try and maximize that gap between them. But onto the other Alpine driver, Corsair on softs, behind Quinton on hards. He's got the DRS now on one of the final turns, and onto the final turn they're going to go. Once again, it's going to be a replica of last lap. He's going to get DRS just like Afrodox did, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be a clean sailing overtake.
Absolutely, it does look like it's going to be, but he wasn't quite as close as Afrodox, but you can see that speed difference as he comes down towards the first corner. Not quite entirely clean, but Quinton deciding he's not going to fight it. Obviously, Corsair on those soft tires will have to pit at some point. Those tires don't last all too long. Currently, already quite a way through those tires.
Yeah, no, definitely. The soft tires, not the greatest at Jeddah, especially with the very fast high turn corners. So they carry quite a lot of speed for the first couple of laps, but then unfortunately they do start dropping off of the pace compared to the mediums and the hards. Quinton actually carrying a pretty strategic strategy right now, running the hard tire ready from the start of the race. So he's going to stay out while lots of the other drivers are going to be pitting.
Absolutely. So I just got confirmation from Marsh. Unfortunately, his inverter died, so he is not going to rejoin the session. So 2 down from technical issues, that's really unfortunate for both Marsh and Zivan. Zivan obviously getting taken out by an internet issue, whereas Marsh got taken out by a power issue. And really unfortunate for the two of them. Currently, Azure is leading from Scars, who's leading from Afrodox. Afrodox 4.4 seconds back with that 5-second penalty. I'm sure he's going to be wanting a safety car at some point so he can get rid of that penalty when he pits. And then Mario in 4th place right on the back of Afrodox, and let's see if there's a move here.
Definitely going to be a move coming on. Mario carried a lot of speed coming out of that final turn. Now only a 10th behind Afrodox, right on the back of that gearbox. He's going to be carrying that speed right behind him through the S's, and it's going to be close. Scars manages to keep the DRS on Azure even through that following lap. But we see Mario may have made a slight mistake. Afrodox is pulling away a slight, but now actually 5/10ths behind. Going through the S's, he clean sails over the curbs, nothing too much. Little bit of ramping we saw over there, but he seems to maintain that 5/10th gap.
Absolutely, he is indeed maintaining that gap. Venom for a moment looked quite close to the back of Marsh, but fell back, so I think through the S's may have had a little bit of a mistake. But the S's are incredibly difficult to follow through because you have that dirty air that just washes you out, and you do end up on the curbs a little bit more than you'd want. Out in front, though, this battle going incredibly well, and we'll probably see Mario pull even closer to Afrodox coming towards the chicane, but Scars appears to be struggling to keep up with Azure now, and I wonder if there was a mistake somewhere that we didn't see, because Scars was for a moment almost a second behind Azure, but manages to get him with the DRS as Mario gets past Afrodox in the DRS zone as well.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen from the fighting from Mario and Afrodox. I don't know if you've seen someone has actually submerged behind Afrodox. Corsair has gained a lot of time on Mario and Afrodox, and he's actually gaining on the top three again. You can see him over there in the distance on the start straight. But Afrodox clean sailing past Mario now. Like you say, Scars seems to be keeps dropping around a second behind Azure, but he just maintains it, and he keeps getting the DRS on the main straight. And again, 7 tenths behind. Oh, massive error from Afrodox, and he loses that position to Mario. He's going to be a massive threat now to Corsair, and Corsair is going to be on the attack now. He got a way better line through the S's, and as we see there, Afrodox making another mistake, and Corsair's up into fourth.
Absolutely. A little bit of a weird one there by Afrodox. I don't think his tires are too bad. Maybe his tires are overheating just a little bit, not too far. But yeah, tires definitely not too bad. So I think he may have just been pushing it just that little bit too hard. And unfortunately, a moment there that allows both Mario and Corsair through. So gaps opening up. Let's see what the guys can do to close those up. As Scars is 4 tenths back from Azure. Will we see a move this time? We've seen him at about a second back and pulling up to 5 tenths of a second, so this might be the lap that something happens here.
2 tenths now behind Azure, actually down to 1.5. Coming through the final turn, he seems to have gotten actually a better run compared to Azure. He's going to collect the DRS now, and once again, it's going to be an overtake. Azure's not going to defend it, but actually we can see him powering with that ERS, and it seems to be extremely strong with the setup he's using. Scars cannot get anywhere near to make an overtaking position, but he's going to keep on it now, 4 tenths, and yeah, Azure has just got either a phenomenal setup or he's got some insane ERS management.
Absolutely. Although it didn't look like Scars actually opened his DRS there. The DRS light on my telemetry was showing that the DRS was available, but not open, as we see a little bit of argy-bargy by Corsair and Afrodox. And I'm not sure if that would be entirely legal there. Not sure which one would be at fault, but Corsair getting his elbows out, pushing Afrodox off the track, and I'm sure we will see some Stewart's reports after the race for that one. But yeah, as I was saying before, Scars didn't look like he had his DRS open.
Yeah, no, it could have been that because, I mean, we saw on that start line straight, oh, and actually Worm Puzzles lost it on the S's, like we mentioned, those dangerous curbs, but back to, oh, Afrodox is not having a great night. It seems like those mediums, it could even be a setup thing, and I don't even think he has wing damage, but it's just not looking good. From the fighting with Corsair, Quinton caught up to him, and I think that could have just been applied pressure, but he's just dropped down completely. Oliver Gainsler actually goes past him. Oliver Gainsler starting way back, now in 7th position, but then again, it's not been a good race for Afrodox.
No, absolutely. And Scar's actually coming into the pits, so he did get ahead of Azure there. But now coming into the pits, he's going to go for a little bit of an undercut to try and get ahead of Azure. Goes for the hard tires. So the fight out in front is starting to ramp up a little bit as Scars now drops down within the pits. Oliver Gensler also pitting as well, so he'll be going onto the hards as well. And yeah, a couple of guys pitting quite early, I would say.
Yeah, it seems like there's a couple of guys going for the undercut strategy. Afrodox, again, not looking great. 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Tonight is just not his night. And you're going to see him serving those couple of penalties now. It might be 1 or 2, I'm not too sure. But no, it seems like it was just one. He also goes on the hard, so a couple of guys doing the undercut strategy. Azure still seems pretty solid on these medium tires, and Afrodox has retired from the session. He's obviously just had enough of the penalties and the spins, and I think that will be his race over. I think he's just DNF'd. I don't think he just doesn't want to race anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was pure frustration. That moment with Corsair, the spins early on, the penalty from nowhere. It's one of those races where just everything seems to have gone against him, and I think that was him crying enough. Yeah, it's just one of those things, one of those times that I can't say I blame him. It does seem like everything has gone against him tonight.
Yeah, no, it pulls a lot out of you, especially when it's just constant minor infractions that happen to you, and it really does annoy you. But there we see him leave the session. Farewell, and good racing so far. But no, sometimes I understand that frustration, and it can get to you a lot of the times. But as you see, Azure now coming in for the hard tires. Everyone's pitted the previous lap, so we're going to see now if the undercut from Scars worked. and he's going to be actually he gets it. Yep, he's past Azure.
Absolutely, that undercut working wonders, and it convincingly passed Azure as well. That's quite surprising how well that undercut worked.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely phenomenal. 1.7 seconds now ahead of Azure. The undercut worked phenomenally. I guess he just had an amazing run on those hard tires. But yeah, Azure's going to have to work really hard right now. Still three runners running on old tires. Quite impressive stuff currently from Corsair, running on softs, 11 lap old softs, and he's actually managed to keep them pretty consistent compared to the medium runners. Mario still running with the lead, 2.7 seconds behind his Corsair, and Trey 2.8 seconds behind. We're most probably going to be seeing those three coming within the next lap or two.
Absolutely. And yeah, Mario out there in front, but Corsair's tires, I can actually say I'm very surprised he's still out there. I can say this because we're likely to see him in the next couple of laps, and any more than that is going to be incredibly surprising. Um, Corsair's tires, 66% on the rear right at the moment.
That is some phenomenal tire consistency at the moment. That is puncture territory, you know, so
Yep.
smart of him to actually pull in and pop on. He's most probably going to put on the hard tires or even the medium tires. He's probably thinking to himself, if he can manage the softs for 12, he could most probably manage the mediums for another 10.
It's 10
So,
laps, yeah.
yep, we see, there we go, the medium tires go on. He's going to get the pace advantage over the couple of hard runners, but we actually see him in, oh, nope, I thought he was serving a penalty, but it seems like it was just a couple of desync.
Yeah.
Scars is actually, yeah, he's built a gap between Azure, 2.6 seconds now. Is Azure possibly struggling with tire temps or damage or something? Because Scars seems to be on par right now.
Yeah, Scars' tires very much up to temperature. Azure bringing his tires up a lot slower than Scars, and yeah, looks like he's still struggling with temperature, especially on the front left. So I wonder if that's where the pace deficit has come from. In the meantime, Corsair has come out right in the middle of this, right behind Venom. That's not ideal. Venom obviously on those 14-lap-old hard tires. I don't see him fighting Corsair going into here if Corsair does go for the move, but Corsair doesn't go for the move. Still sits behind Venom. There we go. Venom going to the outside of that corner, but Corsair doesn't have the overspeed to get past him.
This is going to be very close. Three very, very close drivers. Now, and as we mentioned it, two of them actually have to go wide and use the escape road. And Quinton's going to gain the advantage over that, running a little bit too close for comfort over there, especially through those high-speed right-handers. But Corsair's had enough of it. He's going to use that DRS and smack Venom in the face. See you goodbye. He's going to be running after Quinton now, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be an easy overtake.
Absolutely, it does look like it is going to be a pretty easy one. And yeah, there it is, goes to the outside, but Quinton hasn't given up yet. Quinton is burning a little bit of ERS there just to stay ahead. And of course, he isn't going to have the DRS there. So what is not really much he can do. It's literally going to be a case of just trying to defend as hard as possible, cover off the inside line. Doesn't cover off the inside line going into the chicane, although that does mean he will get the inside line of turn 2, and there you see it.
We saw a little bit of contact actually with the front right wing, of course. There it doesn't seem like there was much damage. It was a very light graze, but yeah, going to be a couple of laps of intense fighting between these two. They're running on practically equal age tires, and oh, we see a little bit of runoff there from Quinton, and he's gone wide and he touches that curb again. So of course he's got a much better run going into sector 2. And he's looking up the inside. I think he's going to stay up he's going to stay behind him. I don't think he's going to want to try and make a position like a move again after that previous lap incident with the 3.
Absolutely, but interesting thing now, Mario's still out, hasn't come into the pits this last lap. I was watching his dot on the driver tracker, hasn't come into the pits, is currently running his tires to the end of their life, possibly trying to push the strategy that we saw Humid pull a couple of during pre-season. We ran those medium tires until the very canvas on them and then swapped onto the softs. So let's see what he does.
That strategy of Venom's worked. I mean, of Humid's worked very well in preseason testing, and he actually managed to pull all the way back up to third from mid pack. But yeah, we see Mario in the pit now. He has actually gone for that soft strategy. So and he's not going to actually lose too many positions. He'll lose position to Quinton and Corsair, Oliver as well, Trey as well, and possibly Humidifier. Actually, no, he's going to come out in
Oh,
front of
oh,
oh,
and that
contact.
is contact, and that I am very sure we will be seeing in the stewards room, because I do believe Corsair came out there a little aggressively into the path of the Williams of Quinton, and that I'm sure will be an investigation after the fact.
Yeah, no, I think Mario came out the pit lane over there, and yeah, he just kind of joined in again, and I'm not actually too sure who to blame there. I couldn't see it close enough, but yeah, either way, it's a little bit hectic. But Quinton has now retired from the session, obviously from the damage that he sustained, and yeah, as we can see over there, he lost control on the S's into the Qatar barriers, and that's unfortunately his race over. Second safety car of the session. How will this affect?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone has already pitted, so those guys on the older medium tires. Martin's not here; he is an AI. So Helis and Humid are the ones that could really benefit from this. They are the ones on older tires, so they could come in and come out with fresh tires, which obviously will help them out quite a lot. No penalties still on the field, so no one can serve those penalties in the pits. But yeah, I think this is going to really help Humid. We see Scars and Zero both pitting onto soft tires. Mario a little bit put out by this, although he will get the position on track because he has pit. So, and it's only a lap difference in tire age, so it might have worked out from that point of view. Oliver deciding to stay on track. Yes, has stayed on track with those older hard tires. Not sure if that's the strategy I would have gone with.
No, that's going to be a major disadvantage to Oliver, actually. Everyone around him, especially with the previous race leader right behind him, will be on softs. And no, unfortunately, in my opinion, that's going to cause a major drop of pace. And now, unfortunately, it'll be a little bit too late because if he does choose to pit for the next lap, he is going to lose most of his positions gained. So Mario's strategy with pitting before the safety car, obviously, he couldn't predict the safety car, but thankfully those softs only 1 lap old, so he won't lose out too much to Scars behind him. But Scars is a very quick and very aggressively smart driver, so we're going to see a lot of action here, especially with Oliver running on the hards.
Absolutely, and behind him Azure and Corsair, so both Alpines behind Oliver, and I'm sure they are going to want to clear him as soon as possible so Mario and Scars can't get out too far ahead.
No, no, definitely. As I mean, Alpine had a massive advantage in the preseason testing, helping each other out with the DRS and the streamlining. But they're gonna want to try and get as many points as possible for that constructors champion. Even though there is no actual constructors championship award, they'd still like to take it as a beneficiary. And you know, from the preseason testing, it looked really strong for Alpine. Two very incredibly fast drivers. Um, I don't know about Juice Kicks, but I believe the Alpines can pull some magic out of their pockets coming off this final safety car.
Yeah, absolutely. I would not be surprised if Azure takes Oliver going into the first. How's it, Giovanni? Welcome to the chat. I did hear your Charles Leclerc as well, but obviously not much time to reply at the time. But yeah, I do believe Azure will probably get past Ollie going into probably the first section of the track. Corsair might take a little bit longer, and yeah, I'm sure we'll see a decent battle there. Mario and Scars just need to work together if they do want to keep those Alpines behind. They'll need to not fight for the first couple of laps, try and create a gap while Oliver is still there, and yeah, there could be some interesting strategies here if they work together.
Yeah, the only way to keep those Alpines behind, they're gonna have to do some cross-team strategies over here. Like you said, Mario and Scars are gonna have to try and work together with Oliver behind to try and keep those Alpines. Those are very aggressive Alpines behind, but it's gonna be very tight. Those Alpines have got some immense pace, like I've said, and they are not going to be shy to try and push that Ferrari to the limits and try and take him. Scars and Mario are going to be right there, just in front of Oliver, obviously due to the safety car, so they're not going to get the biggest advantage from the Alpines fighting the Ferrari. Obviously, it depends on how long they fight for, but yeah, as I mentioned before, it's going to be a very interesting restart.
Absolutely, and we see the AI of Zivan starting to catch up, so probably will catch up this lap, and I'm hoping the safety car comes in this lap as a result, and we get a good 6 laps of racing.
100%. Even though it's 6 laps, it's still 6 quality laps that could lead to anything, actually, Mike. But yeah, Mario, like we say, a little bit older, 1 lap older tires compared to the drivers behind him, but I feel like he'll be able to control it. But yeah, it's going to be neck and neck going into turn one. We might actually see the dive from Azure on Oliver if he manages to get that safety car restart on par and he doesn't actually get delayed. But so far, it's looking like safety car is going to be staying out. No messages yet about it coming in, and I think it might be because of that ghost of Zivan not catching up on time. So we might
There it
actually
is.
only have. Never mind. There we go. 6 laps of racing. I love it when the game contradicts me. But here we go.
Oh,
Oh,
and there is
contact.
contact already between Ollie and
Contact.
oh, that is unfortunate. And just that safety car going in so late, that would have cut everyone's throttle. And I think that contact was actually a result of that. And Mario goes nice and early. Scar's already with him, has dropped back a little bit. Ollie gets a decent restart. Azure right on top of him. Azure looks like doesn't have any damage, so not entirely sure what that model was. It did look like an end plate, but apparently not. Corsair manages to keep his fifth position despite the pressure from Trey. So yeah, Azure right away past Oliver Gensler, and yeah, that is a good start for the Alpine. Not so good for the AlphaTauri and the Mercedes ahead.
Phenomenal start from Azure. Like I say, predicting it, we predicted it once again that the Alpine was going to push into turn one.
Oh, and
Oh, contact. That
that one is
Yeah, that's
absolutely on
hectic.
Corsair. Corsair turning into the apex despite the car on the inside there, and again, I'm sure we'll see that in the steward's office. And I think that one that looked pretty clear to me.
Yeah, a couple of incidents tonight, unfortunately, involving Corsair. Some directly will be tagged to his name with a penalty. Some he was unfortunately involved in, but yeah, not looking like a great night tonight. Obviously, it's just been a little bit too hard pushing. But talking about pushing, Venom getting very balls to the walls right behind Worm Puzzle. We see him grinding over that curve to try and get a little bit more speed. But as we said, another Alpine going wheel to wheel now with Scars. Azure has gotten a way better run compared to Scars. He's going to be up on the inside of Mario. No DRS just yet, but it's going to be 2 wide, potentially 3 wide. Azure setting the fastest lap. Mario is going to have to defend from both drivers. Azure looks down the
Oh, and
inside.
that is
Oh, and there's
contact.
contact, but they seem to manage it.
They seem to have survived that. That was really unfortunate. I think everyone just on the brakes, starting to turn in, trying to make sure they can get to into that corner. And yeah, Scars, Mario, and Azir now all swapped around. Yeah, Corsair in fifth. Human has made a place up past Corsair in that confusion earlier. And yeah, so very interesting racing out in front. Scars out in front, Mario in second. Azir has fallen back a little bit, and Human has now caught up to the back of Azir.
Like we say, Humid, the man of surprises. He comes out of nowhere, obviously from the contact from Corsair and Oliver, and he's now actually going to be fighting with Azure. He's already got past Corsair somehow. He's managed to fight that, and he's going to be on Azure now, only 3 tenths behind. So theoretically, Humid could be fighting for a chance for a podium here.
Absolutely, transfer a podium, or even better. We know he has the pace. We know he has come from quite far back in the field. Obviously, with that early damage, he had to fight his way back from pretty much last place. And now you can see these guys right on top of each other. Practically no space between the gearboxes and the noses of each of these cars. Zero shakes from the move, doesn't quite go for it, and that is a massive
Ooh,
smack on the
contact.
wall with Mario. So very much an interesting race here with these guys in front. DRS now enabled, so we'll see DRS. Ooh, and that is a massive snap of lag for Scars, and that's really unfortunate for him.
Humidifier on the podium now after recovering from such a far position has now joined the top 3 battle with Azure and Mario, and he's not even far behind. 2 tenths behind Azure, 2 tenths behind Mario. This is going to be an insanely close last 3 laps, but Scars has lost a lot of pace. Obviously, we saw that lag spike and he's left the session. So obviously some sort of internet connection issue or server issue, but that's unfortunate to see, especially from him having such a good race. But it is now Humid in first place with his teammate behind him. They're going to have to work together to keep that Alpine behind.
Absolutely, and I think that's exactly what they're doing. And massive
Oh,
smash there by Azure. That was really unfortunate. The two Alpha Tauris boxing Azure in, and unfortunately, I think Azure may have just understeered out there and contact front tire to rear tire, and massive spin there. Lots of damage on that front wing. His front wing is completely destroyed, yeah, that's unfortunately. Probably going to be the end of this year's race. We have another safety car though, so will he be able to salvage more points than the 1 point he's currently going to get from finishing in 10th?
he might possibly. It depends on his pit stop. But Skix, I don't know about you, man, but this has been the most uncommon top three that I was predicting from the start of the race. Humid takes pole with his teammate behind and Corsair in third. No Azure even in sight. I thought this was going to be an easy sailing 1-2 again for Alpine from preseason testing. Instead, we've got a 1-2 AlphaTauri. What is going on?
No, absolutely. It has come out a little bit from nowhere, and yeah, quite a mixed upgrade from what we saw in preseason testing. Obviously, we've had a couple of incidents which have changed things, and Azure's wing actually being changed there rather than the Phantom change that we saw earlier. But yeah, what a weird grid order. Azure currently down into 12th position. Obviously, there will be a couple of AI who are in front of them. Ollie Gainsler coming through in the background. I think he may have pit when he got that damage earlier. And Oliver is unfortunately on the back of the grid. So these guys have to catch up as soon as possible because the safety car won't stay out beyond the end of this lap.
No, 100%. There's only going to be about 2 laps left of racing here, which means that it might just be a capitalized and solid 1-2 for both the AlphaTauris. If they can work together to defend Corsair behind, it could be a phenomenal 1-2 podium for the two AlphaTauri boys, especially, like we say, from out of nowhere. Another phenomenal driver, actually, said to speaking, is Trey, who's gained 6 positions so far of the total race. And, you know, this is someone who you don't commonly see within the top, the top 5, even top 4. So phenomenal performance there from Trey. He's obviously worked his way through all of the incidents that have happened throughout the race. And, yeah, incredible performance so far.
No, absolutely. So, yeah, let's see how it goes here. So safety car will likely to be coming in this lap. Scars has managed to rejoin. Good to see that. Hopefully, he manages to take control of his car before the race start, and we'll actually ride with him to be able to see what's happening up ahead as they head through here. And you can see Humid slowing down the field as far as he possibly can. His tires fairly warm, so it looks like the people that have cold tires, Scars, unfortunately, thanks to the AI glitch, and Venom has fairly cold tires as well, but Humid has gone already coming through that. Has he? I don't know if he's gone. No, he hasn't. Surely not. He's looks like he's going so slowly, but that is full speed. So just looking like it's slow because of all the cars behind, I think. And you can see a couple of people trying to shake for moves in the background already.
Seems like Mario had a tiny bit of a little wobble there. Oh,
Oh,
massive contact! I swear, there's another safety car. But Scars, unfortunately, I don't know if that was AI, but it seems like there's been a little bit of an incident there that's caused a lot of drivers to, obviously collide with him. But as I was saying, it seems like Mario was wobbling a little bit, and he's already lost 2 seconds to his teammate in front. Corsair lost the position to Trey. Trey now 5/10 behind Mario. This could be a completely unpredictable podium for tonight.
absolutely. So Humid out in front has managed to gap everyone else. Mario in second, Trey in third, Corsair in fourth. Azure gets past Marsh's AI and probably will do the same with Zevon's fairly quickly. Scars at that little moment, as I said, his tires were incredibly cold, so I wonder if he just tried to get on the power and the rear end just looped out. And that unfortunately did lead to Azure getting into the back of him. Venom also with some damage, and Oliver Gensler also picking up some damage from that moment as well. So really unfortunate on the safety car restart there. And yeah, cold tires just leading to another loop. But a lap and a bit to go, and Humid coming onto the pit straight for the penultimate time.
Also, might actually have sustained some sort of damage, or we might be fighting some sort of tire issue right now. 1.5 second gap to Trey. Obviously, not the greatest of starts for him, especially on the SE restart. But as mentioned before, Trey is going to be trying to close that gap between Mario. In my personal opinion, I don't think it's going to happen. I think Mario is going to defend for his absolute life to try and keep that 1-2-4 AlphaTauri. But yeah, speaking again about Azure, at least he's actually managed to get up to 9th now. 2 points on the board then from him from Alpine, but once again, unfortunate incident with him as he actually moves up to 8th now.
Yeah, absolutely. Moves up a position. Helis gets through on Martin Brain, and Trey falls outside of that 1 second gap. Corsair is carrying wing damage, 18% on the front left. So yeah, definitely with a damage there. Doesn't look like he's catching up too much. And Helis has a massive pace right now. He is 4 tenths back from Corsair. Corsair cuts across the track there and still loses time to Helis. So Helis has incredible pace right now, and he is chasing down that Alpine.
Ellie's from out of nowhere again. What is going on right now, dude? There's so many unpredicted people. Right on the gearbox of Corsair, he's gonna go up on the left. Corsair blocks it off. Ooh, very aggressive driving from Corsair there. I don't know if I don't know if you could see that, but that was a little bit of a double defense move there. Not too sure if that was too much allowed, but here we go. Heli's on the outside of Corsair. Will they give each other enough space? Corsair loses the back end a little bit, and Heli's up into 4th.
Absolutely. 4th position, manages to get the position. Well done to Helis for catching that one. And yeah, well done to the AlphaTauris, getting that 1-2 out of absolutely nowhere as we see Venom retiring in the final corner. But yeah, well done to the AlphaTauris out of nowhere. Obviously, Mario was fighting towards, towards the front that entire race. But Humid from literally the back of the grid to the front. So well done to Humid for that last to first. And yeah, definitely showing his class there.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but that's definitely taking my driver of the day vote. Humidifier, starting all the way from the back of the grid up into first place. Azure starting first down into 8th. It's just been a little bit of an unfortunate race for him, but yeah, insane amount of pace from everyone here today. It's been a phenomenal race. Obviously, we don't like to see so many incidents, but it does make it interesting with all the safety cars. Like we see, such an unpredictable podium tonight. But from my end, it's actually been an amazing race. I don't know about you, Skex.
Yeah, it was a good race to commentate. Obviously, the incidents, we never like to see them, but they do make things a little bit more interesting, and the safety cars definitely help as well. So yeah, they're a pretty good one for the first race of the season. Obviously, Tier 2 will be tomorrow night, and of course, you will be on the grid there. Looking forward to it.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it. Preseason testing was also pretty good. Jeddah, like we've said multiple times, is a very intense circuit. And yeah, it's all just going to be about watching what other drivers are doing, making sure that any mistakes up ahead can be avoided. But yeah, I'm hoping for a solid race tomorrow night as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me tonight in the Combox. Thank you to everyone in the chat and watching the stream. It's been a great pleasure to have you here, and we'll check you all next time.